Welcome to the Grow Your Practice podcast. Hi, I'm your host, Chad Madden, owner of Madden Physical Therapy and Breakthrough. Join me each week as we dive into the best practices, systems, principles, tips, and tricks to help you grow your private practice. Back in 2015, I had shared some observations on the 4 levels of private practice owners. And in that, I walked through, we used a baseball analogy at the time, but minor leaguer, major leaguer, all-star, and then in the end, Hall of Famer. And what I've done here more recently is thought about some of the reflections that I had back then on the private practice industry. And I took a look at the 5 levels of marketing, which I really pulled from Eugene Schwartz's Breakthrough Advertising, and apply that to private practice marketing today. A lot's changed over the last 10 years. Back in 2015, very rarely would a private practice be looking to market directly to the consumer. Today, it's pretty much a given. Back then, a lot of consultants, coaches, et cetera, were talking about you needed to market to the physician. Today, we all know that we should be marketing to our past patient list, that we can have partners in the community, and also that we can be advertising our services through paid media, like on social media platforms like Facebook and Google and YouTube and Instagram. So in this episode, I'm going to walk through the 5 levels of marketing awareness as I see it. And also, more importantly, this will help you identify exactly where you're at in your private practice journey and also what your next step is to get to the next level. So likely, if you're listening to this, you're a private practice owner, maybe you want to grow, maybe you want to scale, you probably have hired clinicians or you're hiring clinicians, you open a new location or two, maybe you invested in a cash pay treatment equipment or a treatment service like shockwave or laser therapy or dry needling. You're looking for consistency, but you're still riding the roller coaster of new patient flow. Here's what nobody will tell you. The marketing approach that works brilliantly for a practice at one stage will completely fail or steer you wrong at another. It's not that you picked the wrong tactic or strategy. You just picked the wrong tactic for where you're at in your practice growth journey. And we all know that if you have multiple locations, you may have one clinic that's crushing it and a satellite clinic that is lagging behind. So what we're about to walk through here, it maps the 5 distinct stages every scaling practice owner goes through, and we're going to move from complete marketing unawareness or ignorance, or I don't need to market my practice, over to the other end of the spectrum where we have a predictable patient demand machine, a system that is generating consistent new patient flow regardless of the time of year. Understanding exactly where you're at right now determines what will actually work at the next level. And most owners spend 10 years or more. I just talked with an owner who's been in private practice for 35 years, and they're still struggling to figure this out. So you don't have to stumble through the stages forever, and you don't have to make the expensive mistakes that many of us make at each level. And that's my hope for you here. The fastest path forward is recognizing where you're currently at, learn from the practices that have already navigated that next level successfully, and help you take that next step. So let's get started here. The first level is what Eugene Schwartz referred to as the unaware. So this is the practice owner who's not willing to admit that they have a problem. And most of us at this stage are saying something like, word of mouth, providing high quality of care, word of mouth referral is all I really need. And it might be true for us. You likely built your practice in the beginning on reputation alone. If your story is anything like mine, I worked for 2 other physical therapy practices. One was a private practice. One was an orthopedic POPs practice before I went out on my own. And I had somewhat of a, although albeit brand new reputation, only 3 years into my career. But I had somewhat of a reputation in the community before I opened, right? I wasn't starting from zero. And before you opened, you were likely already well known in the community. You had that yourself. Your schedule stayed full for years. You have no issues at all filling your schedule and likely even having a waiting list to get in to see you. So why would you need marketing? Then, something happens for most of us, especially if we're scaling. You hired a therapist, and maybe this is your fourth therapist, and her schedule stayed empty for months. We opened a satellite clinic where you were excited about it. You invested 150, $250,000 in opening that new clinic, and the rates, the call rates coming in weren't exactly what they are at your main clinic, right? Nobody's calling that new office. The other thing that happens is, you might have invested $25,000 or $50,000 in rolling out new therapy equipment and treatment technology, and it's sitting in the corner collecting dust. So there's a dangerous assumption at this stage, and it's because I filled my schedule, even though it took years really for us. I can just put a licensed DPT in any satellite clinic and they'll fill that up too. And that's not real, right? Most of us discover that pretty quick. But your reputation doesn't easily transfer to new clinicians or new employees. The personal network that you've had, it doesn't extend to new therapists, especially if you're building the wrong way. And all the marketing relies on you. And word of mouth, we find that it takes about 2 years to build from scratch. So if we have an entry-level DPT, it'll take about 2 years of that entry-level DPT treating patients before they're getting a consistent flow of word of mouth referrals coming in each month. And yeah, so some other things that happen at this level, you view every marketing dollar as pure expense. So if you're looking at your P&L that you get from your CPA and you see something around marketing, you're just viewing it as lost revenue, not an investment in future patient pipeline. You likely at this stage can't distinguish between a $1,000 a month Facebook advertising campaign and a $500 a month CRM system for your practice. They're just both marketing expenses. There's no difference. They both just look like marketing line items. If you've tried marketing at all and you bought things that probably make you look good as a clinician, so they're branding really for you. They talk about you. It might be a trifold brochure that showcases your certificates, or a web page that talks about the continuing education that you've done and the specialized training that you've had, and what you like to treat and what your hobbies, or et cetera. They're focused on you. They're not focused on solving the problems of your patients. So your website and materials talk about you instead of solving the problems your potential patients actually might have and talking about it in the way that they think about that problem. You're essentially marketing to other clinicians, not to patients who need your help. And the trigger, really the step that moves you to the next level too, which we'll talk about here, is the pain of empty schedules, unused space, and idle equipment that it becomes impossible to ignore. So you realize that high quality of care and word of mouth referrals are not enough to scale a practice, and reluctantly, you're going to have to learn about marketing. The next phase is problem aware, and this is level 2. So this is the owner that the pendulum swings far the other way. So they go from, I don't have a marketing problem, high quality of care, word of mouth referral, that's all I really need. I'm the best in my area. And now all of a sudden they need to market. Then it becomes they want to learn everything and they want to do everything themselves. So now you need that. Now you know that you need to market. The question is, how do you do it? So you start watching what competitors do on social media. You take courses on running your own meta ads or Google SEO, or you try to build landing pages, or even worse, your own website using some drag and drop software. It's typically at this stage, marketing becomes like the pet project that you're just obsessed with. You attempt to set up email automation at 11 o'clock at night after you get your kids to bed and after you've treated patients for 10 hours. And it's like the worst. And by the way, again, guilty. I've done this. And in the end, you're drinking out of a fire hose. Every expert that tells you something different, Facebook ads, Google SEO, Instagram Reels, email nurture sequences, physician liaisons, community events, direct mail, chasing it all, it becomes overwhelming because you're just bouncing from shiny item to shiny item rather than having a cohesive plan where you need to know or where you know exactly where your new patients are going to come from and what you need to prioritize and what you need to say no to. So the hidden cost here that nobody talks about is the enormous opportunity cost. So every hour that you spend fumbling through ClickFunnels or something similar, those tutorials, that's an hour that you're not treating patients, that you're not managing your team, that you're not developing your staff, that you're not improving the systems and operations in your practice. You're burning $150 of your time to save $100 a month on marketing. Just makes no sense at all. Plus, you're learning by making expensive mistakes. That $3,000 TikTok campaign or print ad that you ran that generated 0 appointments, that's tuition that you're paying in the school of hard knocks. And at this stage, you believe that you personally have to do all the marketing yourself. Your learning curve is brutal. Lots of trial and error with money and time that you can't afford to waste. You're attempting to build landing pages, set up automation, and write email campaigns yourself. And every tactic feels like you're starting from scratch because you lack a systematic approach. You're inefficient at everything. What an expert could do in 20 minutes takes you 20 hours. And the trigger that moves you to level 3 is you realize the opportunity cost is killing you, that it's not the best use of your time. And you see that marketing investment actually does create patient demand. You recognize that you can't do everything yourself and need to delegate this function. So just a little transparency, when before Breakthrough back in November of 2012, from like 2009 to 2012, I really got into direct to consumer marketing and I was in this stage. I was doing everything that I could. And I had figured out a lot of legacy media because I was learning from people that had figured out legacy media. So legacy media, I mean, TV, radio, um, print ads, direct mail. I knew how to generate new patients from there. And I felt very strong in those areas and that we could go there and that we were going to generate new patients more than I could ever imagine, more than we could possibly treat. That was working really well. What I was trying to figure out is I knew that there was something, coming with email. I knew there was something coming with video and online ads, and I was trying to do that myself. In November of 2012, when I first met Carl Madiola, who co-founded Breakthrough with me here, he had asked me, he said, show me what you're trying to solve in your practice. And I said, I'm trying to run Facebook ads. And he was like, what do you want to run Facebook ads to? And I said, we've been hosting these workshops since 2003 and they crush it for us, but the newspaper is dying. And I know I should be moving over to these online media types, but I can't figure out how to run my own ads. And he was like, just give me what you want to do. And he was like, I'll figure it out this weekend. So I had spent, and this is where I felt kind of dumb myself, right? Had to step back and maybe somebody can figure this out better than I can. But I had figured out copy. I was trying to do it over the same exact copy over in Facebook, and it was a different media type, and I didn't understand that. Carl put together a campaign that weekend. We ran the ads for like 48 hours, and I ended up, and this is when Facebook ads were very inexpensive, and I think we ended up with like 40 registrations in 48 hours. Like, it was crazy. And I think that the total cost was like $200. That could never happen today on Facebook, but it was absolutely amazing. And I said, how did you do that? And he said, do you want to learn how to do it, or do you just want me to do it from here on out? And that's kind of really um, that was the beginning of Breakthrough, where like I understood marketing, but I knew that, think about all the thousands of hours that he had put in, in marketing at Tesla and Johnson and Johnson and 3 other Silicon Valley startups. Like, he understood that he didn't have to think about it. I just gave him the copy. He pared it down, made it work for Facebook, and then was able to do that. And that's, and I just realized that back then that there are people that I should be relying on that are specialists in marketing, rather than trying to solve it all myself. Level 3 is that the next level, which is the solution aware. And by the way, we still run Facebook ads to this day. And it's really part of our secret sauce for growing our practices. Level 3, solution aware. This is marketing works until the channel dies. And again, I just shared, print and direct mail were working amazingly well for us years ago. And then the newspaper died, and we had to adapt. So if you're in this stage, you get it. Now you understand that more marketing investment is going to drive more patients. When you make those marketing investments the right way, more patients means more revenue. More revenue creates freedom to make better decisions about your practice. So you might be dropping a low payer or adding a cash-based service or attracting a different type of patient. You likely at this point, at this stage, have hired help or outsourced to an agency. You're running ads, you're emailing your patient list, you're seeing some results. Then something changes. You know, Facebook updates its algorithm, which happened to us about a year ago, and your cost per lead triples overnight or goes up significantly. Google changes its ad policies, and your campaign gets suspended. Your email open rates crater because Gmail started filtering promotional emails differently. The problem is at this stage that you're thinking in media channels instead of patient pathways. You blame the media. So when one channel dies or changes, you don't know how to adapt. You're not flexible. You just try to keep doing what worked before, even when it stops working. And at this stage, you understand that marketing investment drives patient volume. You're dependent on one or two marketing media types, usually Facebook ads or Google. And when platforms change, you panic because you lack a diversified system. You don't have another channel to go to. And you think what's working today might not work. You think about what's working today, but not what will work tomorrow. You don't have a backup plan. And you understand tactics, but lack that strategic architecture that we really need long term. If you think about this, the progression was 20 years ago. We were marketing via fax machines. I went through that stage. I can remember it. Then we switched over to print. Then we went to Google. Then it was Facebook. Then very briefly, it was TikTok. Media channels rise and fall. And your practice, the goal is that you're outlasting them all. So the trigger that moves you to level 4 is you experience firsthand how vulnerable channel dependency, when you're only relying on one channel, makes you. So you realize that you need an integrated system that works across all 5 new patient pathways: your past patients, friends and family referrals, your referral sources like your physicians, community partners who are promoting you, and direct mail, paid cold traffic, however you're marketing to cold traffic. So level 4, that next level, is product aware. So this is the duct tape nightmare. So you figured out what you need. You have multiple things working, a website that actually converts visitors to phone calls, email campaigns going out at least monthly to your patient list, maybe some direct mail that's working and producing for you depending where you're at in the country, paid ads that are running, even if it's inconsistently. You have a landing page, at least one that captures leads, and you have a CRM, which stands for Customer Relationship Management, but it's a software that manages where patients or potential patients are at in their experience with your clinic. So, and I mean, a good CRM is really the secret here for everything. The problem is that you're paying for MailChimp and Constant Contact, both emails, right? And HubSpot and ClickFunnels, both CRM type patient phasing, and 3 other pieces of software, right? Nothing talks to each other. You're manually exporting CSVs and importing them elsewhere. Your team is frustrated. You're spending hours each week just keeping this system from breaking or putting out fires with your system. Every time that something needs updated, a new workshop, a new service line, you're rolling out, laser or shockwave or dry needling or whatever that might be, Run DNA, new fit. Every time you need a new campaign, it requires touching 7 different platforms. And your front desk has to check, 4 places to see if someone has already contacted the practice. You're likely using, most practices will eventually just try to run everything through Excel, spreadsheet, or similar. And that becomes a problem. You're paying $2,000 a month in software subscriptions that don't integrate, and the time cost is even higher. You're wasting time every time you switch systems. So at this stage, you understand that direct response marketing principles work, and you understand what they are. You have most of the pieces working independently, but they're siloed. They don't communicate well, and you're drowning in software subscriptions that don't talk to each other. You have system breakdowns and manual workarounds that consume a massive amount of time. You desperately want everything under one roof, or you want to pay one place, want everything in one box so that you can focus on building your business instead of maintaining marketing infrastructure. And the trigger here that moves most owners to level 5 is the aggravation of managing disconnected systems becomes unbearable. You recognize that consolidation and automation would free up enormous time and mental energy to focus on strategic growth, whether that be adding a new revenue line or cash-based service, opening a new location, or improving your business model. And our pinnacle here, level 5, the most aware. And this is it's pretty cool to see. Again, just a quick story for me just to go through this journey, but I can remember talking with owners back in 2014, 2015 that had never marketed before, that are now coming around and just using one system, and which is really cool. And they're at this level, so just watching them grow through the years, super rewarding to see. And for most of us, this is the destination where we have that predictable marketing machine that's consistently attracting new patients who are right for our practice, who we're actually going to get paid for the services that we're rendering them, and they're willing to invest in cash-based services as well. We're no longer playing that marketing guessing game that we all get stuck in. You have visibility into the pipeline. We can forecast our patient volume 90 days out. We know what's going to happen in the future. We may have a waiting list, but it's one that we can manage and also makes sense for our practice. We can make confident hiring decisions because we know that we'll be able to fill that new clinician's schedule immediately. And what makes this level different? Number one is time savings. The marketing runs in the background while you get to focus on treating patients, if you're still doing so, developing your team, and improving your systems. You're not logging into 8 different platforms. You're not manually fixing broken automations. Your team isn't complaining to you daily. The second big thing that happens here is you understand it's not about generating leads. It's about converting, right? Conversion is a big deal here. It's about converting those leads, those people that respond to your email and text campaigns, over to scheduled appointments and ultimately to completed plans of care. You track metrics like response rates and phone answer rates and appointment show rates and plan of care. You know your numbers. You know your graduation rate. You know exactly where your conversion leaks are and how to go and fix them and address them. Number 3 is you recognize speed of response is the name of the game when it comes to conversion. So your 24/7 response capability with the tools that are available today, there is no excuse at all that you don't have somebody manning your phone, whether it be an automation AI conversion agent or a person. So whether it's 2 p.m. or 2 a.m., when someone responds to your marketing, they get immediate engagement. And you're not losing half your leads because nobody called them back for 36 hours. This is being generous. I know factually that just from being in the leads generation business within private practice, the average time is greater than 48 hours that it takes for a practice to respond to a lead if they're not using some sort of tool. Right. So the name of the game here is speed of response. Number 4 is consistent execution. Right. If we want consistency in new patient flow, we need that consistent execution. So past patient reactivation runs every month like clockwork. Your workshop, they happen on schedule. Your text and email campaigns go out consistently. Nothing falls through the cracks because you're busy in the clinic or because you have a waiting list. You have that consistent outflow that's building future patient pipeline and demand for your services tomorrow. The 5th big thing here, and the final one that I have in this list, is strategic confidence. And this is really important. When you know that you can pull various levers within your marketing machine, you can open new clinics or expand existing space or hire additional staff, knowing that you'll fill their schedules as quickly as possible. You can add cash-based services knowing that you can drive demand for that. You can hire with confidence because patient volume is predictable. You have the margin of safety to weather insurance reimbursement cuts or Medicare holding payments for 45 days. You are in control. And what this stage looks like, predictable new patient flow every single month, one integrated system that's handling email, text, automation, your CRM, your AI conversion agent, all in one place. marketing that runs consistently, whether you're busy or not. Time freed up to focus on business model, hiring, service expansion, strategic planning, working on your systems, improving the systems in your practice, confidence to make investments in growth because patient demand is under control. Reduced insurance dependency as you build cash-based revenue streams and start developing revenue from other resources other than just insurance, and battle scars from the duct tape phase that you know that you don't want, right? Like none of us wants to go through that phase. Most of us do by error. But level 5, we realized that it was, ultimately experience that we didn't have to go through. So we're not reinventing the wheel at this level. We're deploying what other successful practices have already figured out, and you're avoiding their mistakes and compressing the timeline to get to results faster. So where are you at right now? Most practices spend 10 or more years going through these 5 levels. They learn through expensive trial and error. They waste money on tactics, which we all do, that don't match their current stage. They burn countless hours trying to do everything themselves. The do-it-yourselfer, I think, I've talked with a lot of owners more recently that are really stuck here, and usually they just limit their ceiling pretty hard. So the practices that are scaling the fastest and progressing through these stages the fastest, they recognize 2 things. Number one is they understand exactly where they are determines what will work next. So, level 2 solution isn't going to work at level 4. Level 4 doesn't resonate if you're still stuck at level 1. Plus, when you're a multi-location scaling owner, especially if you're going from 2 to 10, you likely have, 1 or 2 key locations that have a waiting list. Most of the time they've been around the longest. And then you have another location or 2 that they're dragging. Internally we call it the de novo dog. So it's the new clinic that is just bleeding, hemorrhaging money. And you need a system that can adapt to the demands of each location, right? At that new location, you don't have a practice list, so you need a different tactic, a different strategy, and you're going to have to rely on a different new patient channel. The second big thing that I notice here is, as an owner, you don't have to figure this out alone. Practices that have already made the journey, that have made all the expensive mistakes, they've proven what works, and you can learn from their battle scars instead of earning those battle scars yourself. The question isn't whether you'll eventually reach level 5. The question is how much time and money are you going to waste on that journey? For those of you that want to accelerate your journey, here at Breakthrough, and this is the same exact system that I used to grow my practice back in 2012. We had 2 locations, and I can tell you we were doing roughly, let me think about that, 2.2 million in revenue. Today we're 4 times that. We now have 6 locations. We're doing near 10 million in revenue a year, and the value of our practice went from in 2015 it was $4 million to 2 years ago was more than 20. So if you're looking for that same shortcut, that's exactly what we do here at Breakthrough. We help scaling practices move from that marketing roller coaster to predictable patient demand across all 5 channels without that 10-year learning curve. So if you want to learn more, very rare that I ever have a call to action here within the podcast, but you can learn more just by going to getbreakthrough.com. The other thing that I want to say is I think we're going to roll this out at an even larger scale. And I want to know if the 5 levels resonated with you. So to learn more, to get the system into your practice, you're going to go to getbreakthrough.com, and you can click book a demo. You'll likely schedule a 15-minute call with Morgan, who's talked with thousands of practices, and he knows our industry inside and out, and he can help you identify exactly where you're at and exactly what you could accomplish by having a marketing machine in place for your practice. The other thing that I'm going to ask for you personally is I want to know if this resonated with you. Obviously, I'm limited to my own viewpoints and own experience and the owners that I talk with, although it's quite a few now. I think I hit over the 100 mark here at our last conference that we went to. So that's pretty cool. And, I get to talk with owners all the time, but would love to hear from you. You can email me directly at chad@getbreakthrough.com And I just want to know if this resonated with you. Otherwise, thanks for listening. Hope this helped you out on your journey and your private practice career. Thanks, everybody. See you.